morning, Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, and America. I'm Dr. Barbara Schneider here live today on Radio Free America. It is Saturday, April 16th, 2022, and we are broadcasting live from the studio of Dr. Michael Katchmar, who's here for technical expertise and hopefully some comments, and Jeremy as well. I hope you're all well today. It's a beautiful Saturday in New Jersey. So just so you know, we do have a call-in line if you're so inclined. It's 732-237-4949, just in case you want to have a comment.
Yeah, it's right up on the screen for those of you who are watching with us today. Hey, Barbara Babes, how you doing? I'm back, and as you know, you can listen to our show on as a podcast after the live feed. But if you want to catch the live feed, you can catch that on Dr. Barbara Schneider's Facebook page or Radio Free America with Dr. Barbara Schneider on YouTube. Whatever if you're watching us right now, in the description there should be links to that to YouTube and Rumble. Rumble's a great way to catch all of our shows because we are in a sister network under the Katchmar flag. So you'll see Painless with Dr. Gabriel Jasper, Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Katchmar, and Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar as well. So without further ado, let's bring you back to that amazing lady you all woke up early to hear, Dr. Barbara Schneider.
So, as always, I want to plug the local businesses because you start at the local level to take our country back from the people who are currently trying to destroy her. So, TSF disposal for your garbage, you can get a can from the lime green can man, although he has one blue can and one pink can as well. You can book online or in person on the phone. The service is impeccable and there are no hidden fees. The other guys might sound cheap, but they'll hit you at the end.
Yeah, they will.
Lakeside Diner, Brian standing tall against King Philip. Frank and Maria's for your hair needs.
Dumpsters, not cans. Sean said, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Dumpsters, not cans.
No one knows what a can is.
Yeah. So Allure Salon for beauty needs. Harmony Salon, one of our new Barbara Babes. They rule. C&G Country Cafe and Toms River Heating and Air Conditioning. That's the Petty family. And we wish Mr. Petty a swift recovery from his surgery. The Tiny Greenhouse for houseplants. They're on Princeton Avenue. Ken's Hardware. You don't need to go to those big stores. You can get it at Ken's. The brewery and the distillery in downtown Toms River for your spirits. Brooklyn Bistro, a great neighborhood restaurant. We go there all the time. The girls and I will be there in a few days after the holiday thing is over. Red Rose Bakery. Get fat. Their stuff is amazing. And to work it off, Attila's Gym. They're a little outside of our area here, but it's run by a great guy, Ian Smith, who's running for Congress in the 3rd District. I recommend him highly. You got to go out and vote for him because Andy Kim, who he's running against, has a huge amount of money in his reelection campaign. Mm-hmm. Maybe Nancy Pelosi gave him a bit of her Chinese money.
One of our babes, Teresa. Hey,
yes.
Teresa, how you doing? She says she's lost sound on Facebook. If you look in the description, you'll find 2 links, one to YouTube and one to Rumble, so you can change out, if you're having trouble with the Zuckerberg algorithm.
Whoa. And in the 4th District, I am endorsing Mike Blasey against Chris Smith. I've spoken to him. I like his views. I'm very disappointed that Chris Smith voted for the infrastructure bill, which is 91% pork. I wonder how much he was paid. I think that politics is dirty business. We need to clean it up.
Right. Now we got Jeanette. She says, "What do you think of Dr. Oz?" Didn't Will
Oh,
Smith
yeah.
call Dr. Oz bald?
Uh, Dr. Oz, very, very excellent question. I've got my doubts.
Ah,
That will come up in our transgender discussion. He's
okay.
all for that kind of surgery. And has tried to be, he's trendy. His views change with what's trendy. And views and are not trendy. The truth is not trendy. It is.
Yeah.
And Dr. Oz tries to be trendy, and I'm suspicious.
Right.
But going ahead with politics, I have a really big show today because I wasn't here last week. I hope you guys missed me as much as I missed you, and I have a ton of stuff. So I hope you're all prepared. So the FBI is investigating Ocean County employment records because some people might have been hired because of family ties. Really, that's what the FBI is going after. This is small town America. It happens in every small town in the United States. However, King Philip, our governor, broke his contract with the Patterson Police Department. I have this on good knowledge because I was talking to a retired Patterson detective. They
Right.
had a great insurance contract, but the city of Patterson was broke. So, in exchange for them screwing the retired police and the active police with their insurance plan, Patterson received $8 million from King Philip to pay off other debt and screw the guys and women who had been protecting the city. Now, the union took it to court and won, and King Philip ignored the decision. How come the FBI is not investigating him? Or Democrats who break the law are okay? Fabulous. So they're going after Ocean County because it's a Republican county. You go to any small county, a Democrat county, they're doing the same thing, but that's okay.
It's like crimes have become politically correct, haven't they? The ones that they go after and the ones, whatever.
Crimes are okay if you accept the current dogma.
Yeah.
If you are a Republican or you have conservative views, they're going to throw your butt in jail.
Mhm.
So, where's the FBI with Hunter? They've been protecting him, hiding his laptop. He is an abomination. His father, President Diaper, is compromised.
Yeah.
We have serious problems here. And where's the FBI? Now we know from Hunter's laptop, which isn't missing, and all of it is available, that he helped secure millions in funding for military biotech research in Ukraine. And Joe wants to send American boys and girls to fight Russia after he helped build labs to poison them. So the first person who gets to go to war is Hunter Biden. Oh, but that's right. He had a dishonorable discharge from the military.
Yeah.
So I think we need to stay out of it. I think we've poisoned that area of the world enough. And as for the compromise of our current sitting president, the illegitimate president,
Oh boy.
he is compromised by money from China, Ukraine, Moscow, Romania, and it is all documented on Hunter's laptop.
Yeah, and this didn't just happen. This has been, always was. He has been dirty from Jump Street.
The Biden has been in politics for 50 years,
Yeah.
and he didn't have a single day that was not corrupt. His family, including his brother, his sister, his children, his current wife, and their daughter and husband are all involved in the Biden crime syndicate. And they need to be taken down. They need to be prosecuted.
I want to give my hat off here to our girl Liz. She's actually watching us on 3 separate devices one on Facebook, one on YouTube, and one on Rumble.
Yay!
Oh, wow.
Yay! Modern
Very
technology.
good. Very good, Liz.
Whoa. This is,
Remember to share, guys. Remember to share our post.
yes. So let's get it out there nationwide. Although that'll be making myself a target, but oh well, I'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
Well, it'll actually be longer than a minute because I got so much stuff today. So I want to talk about education. I missed some of the conversation before me, but little kids can't read or write or do math. They're no longer teaching cursive writing in school. Can you believe that? Does anybody out there remember Palmer penmanship?
Yes.
But they want to
wow.
do.
That just popped into my head. Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they want to do gender education in kindergarten to second grade, kindergarten, first and second grade. This is an abomination.
We take the curves away from women. You know, they're going to take it away from your handwriting too.
The other thing, they want to start introducing pornography in grade 5.
Oh my God.
I mean, I don't think I saw porn until after I was married, but when would I hit? No,
I love
you're
that.
Right.
Does that make me a worse
My-
doctor?
Barb. I think you should rephrase that. You didn't see porn until you got married. I don't know.
So after I got married, well, you know, I
Other
mean,
porn.
Right.
It was.
Yeah, but
and-
my wife will test, you know, under the Bible, will swear she's never seen porn either. You know,
Well, where would you?
it's
go
either
do
in your,
that?
it's like you either looked for it or you didn't. But you
I
know,
mean, what?
anyway, wear
and-
that as a badge of honor. Yeah.
And they want to teach critical race theory. The basis of critical race theory is that white people are inherently evil and discriminatory against other people, and we are all bad. This is a fallacy, and this sexualization of education has to be eliminated. And to do that, we need to eliminate the teachers' union. Now, I know a lot of you have friends who are teachers and they say, oh, I'm opposed to it. But it isn't the individual teacher who lives next door to you. The teachers' union is a powerful economic force in this state and in this country. And politicians like King Philip and Joe Diaper, our president, bow down to them because of the campaign donations. And you have Randy Weingarten or whatever, the president of the National Teachers Union, still mandating, asking for masks in children. She has to go also. The teachers' unions must be eliminated and their financial clout, and the entire Department of Education in Washington needs to be eliminated. You can't have the Fed mandating education at the local level. This is a local issue. Currently, the United States ranks last of all the industrialized nations in teaching. Our children have been dumbed down. They can't write a coherent sentence in English.
No.
They can't read the cursive writing. They can't add 2 and 2, which will be important when they have to purchase goods from the illegal aliens who are going to overtake this country and rob citizens of their rights.
Well, how do you even sign your signature at the back of your credit card if you can't use cursive? You don't even know how to use it.
You don't know how to use it. You make a scribble. Like
in the old West, it was
from
like
the old West, when people didn't know how to
Yeah.
write, they made their mark with an X.
Yeah.
We've gone so far back, and because of the pandemic, the current estimate is that the children who have been harmed by this pandemic have lost $17 trillion in earning power. Now, I don't know how they come to that conclusion, but you're graduating kids who haven't been to school. We have high school high schools across the country saying you don't need to read and write and do arithmetic to graduate from high school. The high school diplomas they're getting aren't worth the toilet paper in my house. And yet they expect America to compete internationally. And they've dumbed down teachers too. Teachers are given a syllabus of what they're supposed to teach children. And these syllabi are full of left-wing propaganda and baloney. I'm trying to be clean
No,
here.
but you're right though.
So
like
that
like they're trying to get them while they're young. That whole philosophy and
So the teachers
Right.
don't teach. They just read a syllabus. They don't understand what they're doing. They're not teaching. And that's why our children are dumb. And we know that from the healthcare policies of the government, mentally their IQs have fallen. It's not the kids' fault. They've been preyed upon. And this gender thing has made children vulnerable to sexual predators. And even the fact that they've stayed home and been on computers, you got these sexual predators trolling on the computer and contacting them. And these kids don't know who's contacting them. They think they're real people. And let's get to the transgender agenda. And again, this is nothing against transgender people who truly do exist, but make up less than half of 1% of the population of the United States. And yet they're being championed. And in order to try and make them a majority, you have teachers trying to confuse children that they're in the wrong body and need to have drugs and surgery to change what they are. Kids are very vulnerable and impressionable, and their minds are being poisoned by the current teaching agenda. And it is a nationwide teaching agenda brought in by leftists who are basically amoral and godless. These drugs and surgery on these children to change their identities can do irreparable harm. You're trying to tell a 13-year-old girl that she's really a boy and has to cut off her breasts. When she wakes up 5 or 6 years later, sure, she can have a reconstruction, but it's not the real thing.
Right.
And what is the purpose of this? To make it seem like America is a transgender country? This is wrong.
No, I think it's the same thing that makes us do anything. We don't want to be alone in our beliefs, and so they're trying to reach out and decide who's going to be thinking this with them, and that's the flaw of it.
Well, puberty, where you go from a child to an
Right.
adult or
That-
start the transition, is
and that
difficult
that was
enough.
what I was going to say. The age of personal discovery, right, is puberty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it is difficult enough to navigate puberty without having your mind poisoned by teachers who you are supposed to respect. And these teachers are just interested in keeping their jobs and benefits, and they are willing to poison our children in order to keep those jobs and benefits. And I'm not knocking all the teachers, but there's a lot of them out there that are willing to do this. And this isn't a matter of keeping your job. This is right and wrong, and right and wrong are absolutes. So, and with this transgender agenda, women's rights have been stomped on. You have a guy with equipment in the front swimming in the girls' meets, and we're supposed to believe that this is a woman? No, I don't believe it, and you don't believe it, and he doesn't believe it. He's just trying to make a name for himself. He is not a woman.
Because against other people who were born the same sex as he was a mediocre swimmer at best.
So can I just want to say something, because we talked on my lifeguard show. I had some of the young lifeguards here. We were talking about this because we all swam in college. So this is something dear to my heart. And one of the lifeguards, he's about 22 years old. He represents this younger generation. He said, "Well, it's a girl. He's a girl." I said to him, I said, "Tyler, he's a man. I don't care how much hormones he takes, has an operation, takes his penis off and his scrotum. DNA, he's still a man." And this is where they're going off this tangent. They're wrong. They don't understand. We're trying to tell them, I'm 65 years old. You're a man. You're born a man. You're going to die a man. You could have modifications and everything else done to your body, but the essence is you're still a man.
And wait
I
a
just
minute.
wanted,
No, you're
Yeah.
not only are you
So don't-
110% right, but the only thing I question is, how do you know he's taking estrogen?
Oh, I don't.
There you go.
Yeah, you
He's-
only
he's-
have his word for it.
But and I
he
said
didn't
this.
say he's taking estrogen.
No, it-
He has a penis. He has testicles. Nothing's been cut off because you
Right.
can see it in his swimsuit.
Because it used to
He's-
be that if you were that, you were in transition to become.
He ain't transitioning nothing.
He ain't
Right.
doing
This-
nothing like
but
that.
here's the thing. I always say it in our show. I listen. Whatever is going on in his mind or
Yeah.
is that's what it is. He's born like that. Whatever. But here's my point. We want to accommodate everybody, but you cannot accommodate him to swim with women because you're going to hurt the women. So
Yeah.
again, he's hurting people,
And
and that's not good.
And the horrible thing about it is that the powers that be that govern sports and whatever, because I think in one of our previous shows we were talking about the laws of fair play and what have you, but they are. Tucker Carlson had the young woman who tied
Yeah.
with him. Okay,
Yeah.
but she could not hold a trophy that said she was equal to him. She had to hold the second place trophy, even though they tied.
Right, and that's there's agenda
So-
right there.
And their reasoning to her is that he just has to.
And the thing is that this is
You were talking
stomping
about grooming.
on
Yeah.
all the gains
That's grooming.
women have made. And if you watch him on the podium, he's a gorilla. He's bigger, stronger. He's got the shoulders and everything of a man. He is not a woman. If he thinks he's a woman, that's his right. But he's not a woman. He has no place in women's sports. Every record that he created has to be vacated. And how do you give those rights back to the women who lost because he took their
Right.
place?
And he better hope he never changes his views, because if he decides that being a woman just isn't for him when he gets out of school.
Yeah, but that's the problem. The lefties will say he has the right to change his mind. And that's the problem. And it doesn't just affect sports. It's affecting the jails and the schools.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
guys who say, I'm really a girl, put on a skirt and then go and rape women are harming women. This is not acceptable.
When I was in England, I had this discussion with my my niece, and and I get her pushing back against what I was saying about.
How old is she, Jeremy? Just for preference.
She's 19, but
Okay.
she's got no experience in the outside world whatsoever. She did one of my rules, my newest rule is you got to live hard to understand what rough is. You got to live rough to understand what rough is. And she was more following what I think she felt was a certain point of view's dialogue on it. No understanding, no giving up or allowing for another opposing viewpoint. It was, what she thought, and that was that. The difference between those type of people and what we do on our show here is, we all may feel different ways about all of this, but I like to express and at least like to understand where a person's coming from. My argument has always been, I don't understand why I need to change what I feel and believe.
Because that's the leftist philosophy.
Yeah.
It's their view or no view. And that's why we have law students shouting down conservative visitors and simply not allowing them to speak. These law students should all be kicked out because the First Amendment is the First Amendment, and it is the hallmark of our American society. The other thing that this transgender agenda is supposed to do is to eliminate masculinity. And, the manly men, what's wrong with them? Just because John Wayne is dead doesn't mean we can't have other manly men. I mean, it's almost where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? I mean,
Right.
the Yankee slugger who fell in love with a woman and sent roses till he died.
What happened to the Marlboro Man? Remember that?
Well,
I mean, that was marketing to just show, like, to sell cigarettes as a what a true man is like, or the brawny man
the Marlboro meant my heroes have always been cowboys.
Right.
I mean, the fact is that this is to make men effeminate and to make women masculine, so we don't have any sort of difference that you can see. And you have people getting dressed. Sometimes you go to a store and you don't know whether you're being helped by a
Right.
man or a woman. You're not sure.
And here's
what to
another
say.
here's another product, hefty garbage bags, hefty, wimpy, wimpy. There was a distinct difference between the two types of bags, because that's how we see and understand things.
And let me tell you something, from a doctor's point of view, there are two genders,
Right.
male and female.
Explain why there and what the significance of those two genders are.
The significance of this is that the whole purpose of life is to continue life. And man was created in the image of God, and woman, he needed a companion, and so woman was created. And these lefties want to eliminate God, the Bible, and everything that we know is true, correct, and decent. There are outliers, and we accept them. We don't do anything, but they cannot rule. This is a majority rule country, and we are not interested in being ruled by people who represent less than half of 1% of our population.
Yeah.
And this is where I was going to, Liz, this was where I was going to bring up Dr. Oz, who he's trying to get it scrubbed, but he had lectured on transgender surgery and how he approves of it. I mean, it's like I say, he's a trendy guy. He was a cardiac surgeon who didn't do much operating, but a lot of other stuff. So he's odd. I don't know if I could support him for anything.
We said earlier on Scrubbing Up, we were Mike was talking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. If you feel different, you feel like you're outside of the body that the good Lord gave you, that's got to be a horribly trying situation to be in. I couldn't even imagine what you're going through. But just understand the difference between pursuit, right, and imposing. You're at the pursuit of happiness. You don't impose your happiness on anybody else. And that's what they want to do to parents, impose their particular narrative or view pertaining to themselves, which is constantly in flux. That's why the LGBTQ plus, at some point they had to give up and just say, all right, it's just plus, because now we got pussycats, we got horses.
Right.
When
we talked about this, Barbara, just to reflect on this, there's this, and this is really where it gets the crux of it, and this is where the big battle is. We talk about equality of opportunity. We all believe in this room of equality of opportunity. Everybody should have equal opportunity, no matter if you got one leg, you're homosexual, whatever you are, whatever your religion is, whatever your station in life is. We all aspire to what the founding fathers talked about, is all men are created equal. But then they have perverted it, and what they want is equality of outcome. which is equity. We talked about this. Now, to do that, to make everybody, because not everybody's equal. A man is not equal to a woman in with regard to strength all the way around. I mean, you can listen. There's women who could beat me up right now, but you think about having women in the NFL. Go ahead, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely right.
They have like the top women's basketball will get beat by a good high school, college.
Yeah,
I mean, high school kid. My point. But here's the thing: we're not equal with my brother. I'll never throw a ball 95 miles an hour. All right, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
There's people. Everybody is born with certain level of expertise. We try to then deal with that as human beings. And the founding fathers said the best way is to give everybody equal opportunity. Now what they're trying to do is say equal outcome. And if you want to take that to the logical conclusion, Barbara, then you have to get rid of masculinity. You have to get rid of you got to get rid of everything. So we'll be these, we'll be a giant amoeboid mass, and everybody's equal. It doesn't work that way. It's not. It's just. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you want to.
No, they're doing it not just in this destruction of our children, but this brings me, and I want to comment on Donald Trump endorsing Dr. Oz.
Right.
So that he's free to do that. I think Trump did wonderful things to this country, for this country, and he may be able to help us in the future. Doesn't mean I agree with everybody he endorses or everything he does, and that's okay. That's my right.
That's right. Yeah.
Is Trump better than Joe Diaper? Absolutely. Did Trump win the election? Absolutely. And we wouldn't be in this situation now if we had the once and future president in the White House.
Yeah.
So I want to go on now to what else the left is doing. And remember, they are the minority. They just shout louder than we do. Let's talk about crime. Victims are being victimized because the criminals' rights are paramount. So when do people get prosecuted? If you were a Trump supporter, if you were in Washington on January 6th, people who assault and kill cops are walking the next day, and yet they're seeking 7 years of jail time for the guy who sat at Nancy Pelosi's desk and didn't do anything. Although maybe she had a record of her Chinese contributions on her desk, or her insider trading, and maybe someone got a peek. But we cannot you have this guy in Los Angeles letting criminals out. Murphy released a whole bunch of criminals, and they're going to prey on our families, our children, and us. We cannot have multiple systems of justice. We have to have one system of justice for all. Hunter Biden needs to go to jail. So does Joe Biden. So does Anthony Fauci, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, the AOC, all of them. They are devoted to the destruction of America and its peace and prosperity. And the fact that we need to have one system of justice for all, that's why they've eliminated the Pledge of Allegiance, because they want two separate systems of justice, rules for thee and not for me.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk has been in the news quite a bit lately. He's an eccentric kind of guy. He's from South Africa.
Rich guys can afford to be.
You bet. He's quite
That's
brilliant.
a good one, Jeremy.
But isn't it a travesty that America needs a South African guy to restore free speech in this country? So
if you're so rich that politics don't even surface up to the lofty height that you're at, you could do whatever you want.
He can,
and he's got that kind of do whatever you want kind of money.
Yeah, but he wants to restore free speech in America. I mean, you listen to this guy, And yeah, he's different.
Mm.
He's odd, but he believes in free speech. And that's why he wants to buy Twitter.
And I think if you have that kind of money, you automatically become that genuine guy. You can be as genuine as you want because you don't have to put on a show for anybody at this point. So celebrity doesn't even enter into it, you know.
So he's offering Twitter a lovely sum of money to buy the company. He's currently a 10% shareholder.
Mhm.
And the board of directors, is opposed to selling the company to him because they oppose free speech and want to continue with their power of censorship. So here's the thing. If Elon Musk withdraws his offer and sells his shares, the company goes bankrupt and all the investors lose their money. And these board of directors would rather destroy the company and their shareholders than allow a guy to restore free speech. Now, that is really, really sick. That is the same philosophy that allows criminals to attack cops, burn buildings while the cops are still in it, destroy police cars, shoot cops on duty. And that's the same system of justice that allows that to happen while allowing murderers, rapists, pedophiles to go free, and allowing and entertaining the thought that someone who was in the people's house should go to jail for 7 years. Every judge involved in the persecution and prosecution of the people from January 6th who were peaceful protesters, every judge needs to resign or be impeached.
Like, pull your thumb out, Jesus.
Hey, Barbara, can I make one point about
Sure.
about Twitter? There's a competing entity. It's called Getter, Getter. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Excuse me, Getter, and that's it's one of Trump's comrades.
Yeah.
Miller, and it's becoming very, very big. And it's an alternative. It's an open platform. It's very good. A lot of people are on it. I don't know how many millions, and so they're direct competition with Twitter. So I just wanted to throw it out there. So anybody out there who wants an alternative, you want to fight back right now, you can go on to Twitter, onto Getter.
But is anybody surprised that social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube were being thrown like strong sanctions on what can be said and what can't be said? Of course, they were going to try to get control of it sooner or later.
Yeah, I this is true, and I am going to touch on that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of idiot judges, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So, I want to quote, aside from the fact that she doesn't know what a woman is, and my comment to that was take off your panties and look in the mirror. She also said, quote, "I do not hold a position on whether individuals possess natural rights."
Ooh.
In response to that, I know, I heard a wince.
That's very dangerous.
So in response to that, I want to read something familiar to all of you. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness." So why is her statement dangerous? I know Dr. Kachmar beat me to it's because this is a woman who has been placed in a position of power to change our Constitution, our Declaration, and our country. Before she seats her ass down on the Supreme Court, she needs to be impeached just for this statement. And the fact is that you had rhino Republicans voting to endorse her, like Collins and what's the guy from Utah, Romney. The Democrats never break rank, but these jerky Republicans who need to be voted out of office, and of course, Murkowski from Alaska, they actually allowed this woman to have a seat on the court, while at the same time, the left is threatening to impeach Clarence Thomas because they don't like his wife's point of view. This is a travesty. People, we have to wake up. We have to start making phone calls. and
Clarence
vote.
Thomas has sailed through harder spots than that, though.
Yes,
I
he
think.
was persecuted by
Yeah.
no other than Joe Biden before he became Joe Diaper, because Joe Biden
Huggies
is
Joe.
is a racist, and a misogynist and a criminal, and he has no business being in the Oval Office.
Barbara, with the judge and that
That's-
philosophy,
wow.
this is nothing new. This is Mao. This is Stalin. This is Hitler. This
In
is the
Yes.
communist. That's what really it is. When you look at it, if
Absolutely.
you boil down, like that's why I always talk about equity and equality. This is another thing you boil down to it. This is the old, Stalin, Lenin, this idea that it's a collective. It's just George Orwell. I mean, go back.
Absolutely.
Everybody's equal except some people are more equal than others. The ones who get the money and run the show.
Yeah.
So it's nothing new, in my opinion. But you make a good point. It's very dangerous where we're going. We're going way. The left is really, when we say the left, it's communism. It's pure and simple. And I don't think most of the people in this country want it. And I don't think they realize. I don't know if they think they can't do anything about it, but they're letting it happen, and they better wake up, like you said, and start.
Absolutely. And the left is well funded by people who have stolen our money. And I am going to get to that. I just briefly wanted to touch on breast cancer. So, why is that? So, I'm a board certified general surgeon, and I specialize in the treatment of diseases of the breast and breast cancer. And I have frequently spoken about how the treatment changed to generate more money for administrators, while at the same time decreasing the cure rate. We had the cure, but there's no money in cure, and cure has become a 4-letter word. And so a lot of the medical literature now, which is funded by big pharma and can't be trusted, I have to ignore. I look at it, I know they're wrong, and I move on. But there was an article I picked up this week, actually a couple of articles. And so the first one was amazing, okay? It said that delay in radiation therapy affected outcomes in breast cancer. Duh. So delayed and incomplete radiation was associated with increased rates of recurrence, and incomplete radiation was associated with increased mortality. So, what is incomplete radiation? Either you don't finish your course of radiation, which I've seen maybe once in my career, but in the same publication, they had an article that said that partial breast irradiation is as good as whole breast irradiation. What does that mean? So, in the quadrant where the tumor had been located, there's this type of therapy where you put these radiation catheters in, and they dose you twice a day for 4 or 5 days. Then they pull out the catheters and they say, voila, this is as good as whole breast irradiation, which usually takes about 5 to 6 weeks. Well, I know this to be a lie. However, the catheter thing is very, very lucrative, and it is associated with decreased survival rates and increased recurrence rates. So, in the same publication, you have 2 articles which contradict each other. The other problem with partial breast irradiation, which I never endorse, is the fact that these catheters leave holes in the breast which don't heal well. And so you end up with these draining sinuses that never heal, and the lady ends up with a mastectomy, which wasn't needed in the first place. So I just thought it was really interesting to have 2 conflicting articles in the same journal, which absolutely contradicted each other. So that was just bringing you up to date on breast cancer. But as we talk about medicine, we have seen over the past, I don't know, 10 or more years, the collapse of medicine. And that has been no better illustrated than the pandemic and the recommendations. So I talk about part of the collapse of medicine has been the change in postgraduate training for doctors. But there's another philosophy as well that came in to play just before that, and that was the so-called evidence-based medicine. And they use that catchy phrase, it's sort of like a catchy tune, to say that look at the data. And Fauci and Birx were always talking about the data, which they didn't have, to convince the media, which ran this, that we needed to do lockdowns and other things. So, what is evidence based medicine? So, the definition is the conscientious, explicit, and judicious use of current best evidence in making decisions about the care of individual patients. Okay, and the aim of evidence based medicine is to integrate the experience of the doctor or the clinician, the values of the patient, and the best available scientific information to guide decision making about clinical management. Now, that sounds great. However, what happened? It didn't work. Why not? Because evidence-based medicine is tied to politics, and it is corrupted by governments, hospitalists, academia, big pharma, big tech, and social media. So you have a catchy phrase that you can brainwash inadequately trained doctors with,
Right.
and try to convince people that they're getting the best quality medical care.
It's all about marketing.
And America used to offer its citizens the best quality medical care in the world. People flew and came to America because the medical care here was superior.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I don't think we even rank 45th in the world in medical care. Big Pharma and the NIAID under Tony Fauci control grants and contracts of most academic institutions in the United States. And that's why the new doctors don't know squat. The FDA is involved, and you have a revolving door between the staff of the FDA, the CDC, Big Pharma, universities. They go from one place to another, and they get royalties based on them endorsing things that don't work, like vaccines. And they're there to suppress peer review and other opinions. So that's what the left and the money and big tech is about. There's only one view that's acceptable. So I just found out this week that in terms of doctors who still know how to practice, and that's just us old people here, the threats of losing your license has proven not to be a severe enough penalty. I have spoken about this before. Tony Fauci controls the Federal Board of Medical Examiners, and he has asked the board to go to individual states and pull the licenses of doctors who don't insist that their patients get poisoned by the COVID-19 vaccine. So that hasn't proved to be sufficient. So I found out this week that Big Pharma has put out a hit list on doctors who don't advocate the COVID vaccine or flu vaccine or others. One of the doctors on the hit list is Dr. Zev Zelenko, who helped expose transhumanism and the alteration of DNA by the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. And he's also come to be opposed to the influenza vaccine, which is based on last year's strain of influenza virus. And that's why the efficacy is less than 10%. And as you know, we didn't even have influenza last year. So I don't know how they're pushing a flu vaccine and what it's based on, aside from money. The whole idea of COVID was to convince people to accept and legitimize total biometric surveillance. Because once the mRNA changes your DNA vaccine, you're a hackable human, and artificial intelligence can control you.
Did you get a notification to update your Apple phone in the last week?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay, well, I did, as well as many Apple owners, because it all comes at the same time. And I updated it, and then when it reboots and it loads back in, it tells you the new features that were added. Okay, and we're all familiar with facial recognition. You look at your phone, it recognizes who you are, and it unlocks itself. Boom. Well, now there is facial recognition, even if you're wearing a mask.
Oh dear God.
Yes. So now it's going to read your eyes only, like your crow's feet, whatever you got around there. And somehow wearing a bandit mask, it's going to differentiate you from anyone else. Now, at this late stage in the Francine game and the pandemic game, I mean, isn't that just a bit thick?
No, you know what, Jeremy? You know what the whole agenda here is? It ain't over in their mind.
Yeah.
You got the elections coming up in November. Already I see the news, I read the articles in the Atlantic. Already the fall's gonna come.
But see,
and it's gonna be bad. And then we got to go back to mail-in ballots. But Barbara, let me just make a point about the doctors, because I want to point people to this. Governor DeSantis, I'm reading an article here, pushes free speech bill for doctors during briefing in Florida Panhandle. And this was in March. And I just want to throw it out here. He talks about, it's a bill, it's HB 687 and SB 1184, calls for the prohibition of certain regulatory boards and the Department of Health from reprimanding, sanctioning, or revoking or threatening to revoke a license, certificate, or registration of healthcare provider for specific use of his or her right of free speech without specified proof. Yeah. So you know what? Maybe 2024, when either Trump or DeSantis becomes president of the United States, we'll have an end to this stuff.
I hope so.
Because we got Teresa C., our barber babe. She says, "Here comes another lockdown."
Yeah.
And my point in bringing
it's
all
a good
that
point,
up
Jeremy.
was,
they see it coming.
They slip these things as innocent little updates, but that one makes no sense at our current understanding of where the virus is.
It'll make sense in November.
But that's my thing. They're slipping these things into play, and then poof! Oh no, they're already on your phone when they do another lockdown. Teresa, you got it in one.
So the mismanagement of the pandemic. So first quote, FDR said, "Nothing happens accidentally in politics. And when something happens, you can bet on it that it was exactly planned that way." So what was the mismanagement of the pandemic? The lockdowns, the quarantining of healthy people, the first time in the history of the world, closing schools when kids don't get sick, crippling the economy.
But think about how perverse it is that they're pushing for kindergartners to understand what transgenderism is when we've already taken away their identity with masks. So they don't even know who they are, who their friends look like, or even their teachers. There are students that do not know their teachers' faces. And it looks like we're still keeping that in because
The
because he comes out like a infomercialist. It's not for looking, it's not for cooking, but here's the new booster.
Randy Weingarten of the
Mental.
Teachers Union is still mandating masks for teachers and children.
Unreal.
So what else was mismanaged? The denial of natural immunity, which is superior to the vaccine. Stopping health care for all Americans because 0.5% got the virus. Do you know how many people died of heart attacks, strokes, cancer because they didn't seek medical care? The suspension of our constitutional rights by people like King Philip and others because of the pandemic.
You know what I'm terrified of, Barb? This is what I'm really terrified about, because we're looking at all this stuff objectively now, and none of it makes sense.
And
I am terrified
that they're going to do it again?
No, that they'll swing it into a way that it will make sense for a larger number of people, and all this stuff will be pushed through. That terrifies me, because this is mental. None of it makes sense.
That's why we need to start at the local level and vote these people out. I still see people alone in their cars wearing masks and gloves, and you can't fix stupid. But the fact is, what else was mismanaged? Okay, because they destroyed small business, there was the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. So who benefited? Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook on the social media platforms.
Right.
And then the financial institutions like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Fidelity. The aim was to destroy the world economy, to create a central digital banking system where they have total control over you, what you buy, and how you live. We need public resistance to these individual billionaires who want to take over the world. We have to collapse the fear of the virus. Let's get on with this. You didn't cripple yourself and hide under the bed because of a cold. We need to collapse this fear.
Yeah, because with updates like that on your phone, okay, that's crazy. That is telling you that we're preparing to make this virus the everyday norm from here on out.
And we cannot let them happen. And we see breakthroughs in Tennessee. They're making, let me not say the word, it's IVM, available without a prescription for the prophylaxis and treatment of the virus. In New Hampshire, they're introducing bills to prioritize individual rights and limit the authority of entities to compel adherence to public health policies. Nobody should be enforced to inject a substance into their bodies without their permission. There's a bill to bar in New Hampshire, to bar the state from enforcing federal vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandates should not exist. And for schools, and I just had a discussion with Caitlin in my office about this, for schools to mandate all these vaccines for children that are causing disease and autism. I just read an article sent to me by the great Dr. Sarah McGee that young girls aged 12 to 16 who've received the vaccine are getting vulvar infections and other problems like that. I mean, no child under 18 should get this vaccine. They don't need it.
Now, I had a very unique perspective when I went to England. Okay, I saw what another country was like, being in that country, reading their newspapers, all of that jazz. And what I've noticed is that they don't know some of a lot of the things that we talk about, especially on these shows, like Ivern, right? So my parents, after I got home Monday, I get called up. It's late at night, not too late. I mean, for them it was 2 a.m. Because they're 5 hours ahead. And my mother thought she was stroking out, and they both have COVID. And I'm like, oh my God. And and they called the ambulance, which under social medicine takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there at 2 a.m. I don't understand that.
National Health.
National Health. So then when finally I was able to speak with the paramedic, I'm running through exactly what they need to do for my mother if they're taking her away, because that's what it seemed to be. And I'm like, she needs Ivern, she needs monoclonal antibodies. If she gets those monoclonal antibodies right now, she'll kick this in just a couple of hours. Could you please make sure that that is all said when she's admitted? And the ambulance driver looks at me through the airtime Skype, whatever, and he's like, yeah, those must be American things. I don't understand what you're talking about. And I was like, wait, what?
So in the UK, 90% of all deaths from COVID are in vaccinated people. They released those statistics about 3 weeks ago. And you can't find this information readily in this country. I mean, I have to scroll through hours and hours and reams of articles and reject the ones I know are baloney, and to get some of this information. That's why I try to provide a service to my listeners, because I'm so grateful to them for giving me their time.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
But also I try to make the listening worthwhile, because time is our most valuable asset.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, they're banning vaccine passports on driver's licenses. Can you believe that someone tried to do this? We have a corrupt media that is committed to the leftist agenda, and it's only on little podcasts like this where you can get the truth. And sometimes we speak the truth, and our carriers like YouTube turn us off.
Yeah.
And the fact is that it's propaganda. It's not real news. It's really hard to know what's going on. Medically, I mean, I can sift through the stuff and understand what's going on, but other people can't, and young doctors just believe what they're told, and they want to keep their jobs. And that's why what Dr. Kachmar said about that Florida bill allowing doctors to be free from prosecution for speaking the truth. This is landmark. Maybe it'll spread.
Oh, there was one thing I wanted to ask the both of you, in fact, because you're both doctors, and I want to know what this made you feel like when now forgive me on the details. I think it was a doctor. It certainly was a phlebotomist posting on her social media how she didn't like the political views about the patient she was drawing blood from.
Oh,
so she stabbed her a couple of times for good measure.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that? I mean, that hits you home, right? Yeah.
I thought that was an obscenity.
Yeah.
And that's these new doctors. They take an oath to their paycheck. They are indoctrinated, and they are stupid. And they are shift workers, because they, just like they destroyed the teaching profession, they destroyed the medical profession. They'll have select doctors for themselves, but they're eliminating doctors. You go to a certain local hospital, you don't see a doctor, you see a nurse practitioner or a PA. And
now, finish. Let her finish, and I want to make a comment on that.
Okay.
Frankly,
both of us.
Based on the information and training that current doctors have, it's no difference if you see another healthcare professional. And as for the hit list that they've put out on doctors, none of them are these young, indoctrinated people.
Can I? You asked a question about somebody taking it out on a patient because of their political views.
Yeah.
And I assume that what it was a left-leaning phlebotomist who was taking blood, or doctor taking blood out of a constitutional republic,
Yeah.
conservative,
But a
probably
patient
probably
nonetheless.
Catholic,
Yeah.
Bible, and probably white, and on and on. Here's how I look at it, and I've come to realize this: the left, this extreme left, not liberal. I have a lot of liberal friends. I'm talking about the left, Antifa, left. You know what? They are, number one, uninformed. They don't read. They don't know anything. They don't want to know. They could do it. They don't want to know about history. They don't want to know anything about the past. Number two is they're cowards. They're cowards to the nth degree. That's why they're still wearing masks in the car. A lot of them they're big talk, but they're cowards.
When you take
The third thing, they're violent. They're violent.
Yeah.
Let me just make a point.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're violent, and this shows it. They're violent. They're cowards, and they're uninformed, and that makes them dangerous. And they're the same people in 1950s with Mao, when they killed 30, 40, 50 million people. The same people in Cambodia with the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
The same scum that's in Africa right now. The Rakam Karam or whatever. The Stalin. It goes on and on. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same ilk. They're cowards. They're uninformed. You want to say stupid? That term. I could say they're obtuse. But they don't know what that word means.
Well,
and again, they're violent. I want to make a point. Look at what right now. Right.
Well,
wait.
that
Look
was
at just
violent as hell.
Barbara. I don't want to take you on, but look at we're in it right now. The president of the United States. I don't care. He's I've watched the guy. He's senile. I can't. It's sad. It's sad. And we've downgraded to this position, right? We're in a war, inflation. Do you see the right rioting? Do you see us going crazy, committing violence? No. If it was same scenario now with Trump, they'd be rioting in the streets, burning their buildings down. The left is violent.
Yes.
Sorry.
So
but like my mom says, not so sorry.
My follow-up question to this is, now,
does that answer your question?
It answered part of it, yeah. So now with the Hippocratic Oath, the number one rule is do no harm.
Huh.
What would you cast as judgment to this particular healthcare official who actually harmed a patient?
Well,
against the oath both of you made.
First of all, since it was intentional, legally that adds. It was not incompetent. It was intentional, and it adds another dimension to this.
Because she bragged about it too, didn't she?
Oh yeah, she put it out on social media. So there was recently a case. I think it was judged about a week or two ago of a nurse, Redonda Vaught or something, who was ordered to give a medication to a patient. She went to the machine dispensing medications, and she didn't get that medication. She got a different one, which she gave to the patient, didn't monitor the patient, and the patient died. And she was criminally convicted for medication error, which was purely unintentional, maybe a little careless and sloppy, but she's going to jail. So now you have, okay, the patient died. So you have less of a problem. This patient didn't die, but was just stabbed twice. And so it's maybe a different level, except one was intentional, one was negligent.
One was intentional with the express purpose to inflict harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need, again, to restore ethics, not just to medicine, but to teach, to everything, to our country, and a level of quality that we have lost. America was the best in the world. And now we're not the best in medicine. We're not the best in education. We're not the best in anything. And for someone like me, this is astonishing.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Well,
against the value hold true.
Well, here's the thing. We all talk about tolerance. We on our radio shows, my lifeguard, we talk about tolerance, and that's, take care of people. I'm a Christian. I follow my Christian values. I was watching just, about Christ, and when, you turn the other cheek and kind of things like that. But you make a good point, Barbara. The nurse, there was no intent. She might have been sloppy. She might have been, I don't want to say, just maybe not well trained. There's a million things that could have gone
Maybe
there.
she was overworked.
Right, but there was no intent.
No.
And that's the key. Intent is all about it. I mean, so they put her in jail.
Overworked is, I understand, but then you post a comment and you put something up on social media.
Yeah, but let me make a point. But and then you contrast that to somebody. You contrast that to an individual who had intent to hurt. Now, yeah, one person died, the other one didn't. I'm not so sure that makes a difference. Because if you're playing chess, one thing is more powerful than the other. To me, that person is evil.
Yes.
Not the nurse who made a mistake. She might be dumb. She might have been not well trained, overworked, sloppy. You can make negligent,
Yeah.
but criminally negligent. No, the other one that's beyond negligent. That's evil. That's that's an assault. That's and that's a different animal, and it should be treated. Again, we're losing our perspective on right and wrong. Why would you not think that when you think that a man with a penis could swim with women? When do we've lost our sense of we don't have any tether anymore to the foundation. We don't believe in God. Red is blue. You know what it is? You know where we are right now? We're in Alice in Wonderland. We just fell down that hole.
Yeah,
and
we're talking. Reality is in upheaval, isn't it?
Right,
I mean, like
reality.
What was reality to us back in our days is now a fantasy world in today's culture.
Barbara, when we were in college, I had some of the psychology classes, and those guys were idiots. I mean, but this is what we are. The truth. I watched the movie the other day. What's truth? Truth is what you make it, or what you could prove happened in the past. So now you get these people, they start going, this is how crazy they get. Well, I don't know about whether or not there was 8 million Jews killed in Germany, because you know what? Where's the proof? I mean, truth is they lost their foundation. That's why you have people walking around the school.
Where's the truth? You haven't done any research.
No, that's the point.
Whatsoever.
They don't. If you look at George Orwell, what they did is the first thing they did, they said the individual of the movie. Yeah. What he does, the lead protagonist, he takes the information, the old newspaper articles, and changes them to meet the narrative of today. Remember what George Orwell says: if you can control the past, you can control the future. And if you control the now, you can control the past. That's what they're doing. Bigger picture.
So, and I read this, a couple of weeks ago. Tucker Carlson said, if they can make you believe something is untrue, they've won. They control your brain.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why we have to keep fighting back. And I know this has been a really, really intense kind of
episode.
Yeah. So now I want to turn to the personal.
Well, I was just looking at that hat you're wearing. If you want to get personal.
Well, yeah.
Trump 2024.
I like the shirt, Barbara.
Revenge
Can we
tour.
see the shirt? Let's take a look at the shirt, Barbara. Okay. I love that shirt.
Wait,
let me get
of the free.
Turn a little bit the other way. Right there. Whoa, land of the free.
Because of the brave.
Yeah.
That's
nice
brilliant.
Shirt. Nice shirt.
That's
nice
brilliant.
shirt.
Yeah, it's my shirt of the week thing.
That's a great one.
So, and I can say this because Dr. Kachmar 2 weeks ago advised me to do what's in my heart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always got to do what's in your heart.
Always.
So, God said, I need somebody strong enough to pull a sled and find bombs, yet gentle enough to love babies and lead the blind. Somebody who will spend all day on the couch with a resting head and supportive eyes to lift the spirits of a broken heart. So God made a dog. So I got my dog a puppy because my dog was dying of grief. And along the way, she's helping to heal my husband's heart as well. So thank you, all of you who expressed condolences and everything.
Yeah.
And not to stop there, but April happens to be my favorite month, even though it's not my birthday month, which I love. And so my second quote of the day is from Isaiah. And it is, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. And this is the season of miracles because we see the rebirth of the earth, which the left thinks is going to end in 12 years, but they're wrong. It will be reborn as it is, and you see it, the green of the new leaves, the flowers. There's the miracle of Passover, the freeing of the nation of Israel and the parting of the Red Sea. And there is the miracle of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Faith is a gift that comes from acknowledging these miracles. And as my last quote of the day, it's from Hebrews 11:12. Faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. Let yourself be filled with faith. Cast off the things that weigh you down so you have the strength and endurance to run the race set before us. So our race, our goal is to restore America, restore faith in America, restore the excellence of America, and restore what I call the 5 C's: capitalism, Constitution, the Judeo-Christian tradition, courage, and Camelot. We can all do this. And this is the time of reflection and faith to convince ourselves and everyone around us that we can do it. So with
if we got one more question, what time for one more question? I do have one.
Sure.
Okay. This is from our girl Liz. All right. She says, question. Would you tell parents nowadays to not allow their children to get a single Francine? All of the ones we had to get as children to go to school, we never should have, or did things change?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and you're not the first one to ask me that. I think the polio vaccine is legit. I don't know about all the others. I had chickenpox, measles, mumps, all that kind of stuff, and I made it here. By doing all these vaccines, we have increased the incidence of autism in this country, and we have decreased the IQ of our children. And we have done this so that Tony Fauci could have 500 million or now $1 billion in the bank.
Saving up. He's saving up for Twitter.
Yeah. So I think these vaccines have to go. I think they can be voluntary. Schools should not make them mandatory. We need to have charter schools. And people who want to keep their kids in a bubble possibly shouldn't be parents. Let them go play in the dirt.
Yeah.
Let them be kids. Let them do what is normal and healthy so that we can build a strong America. The children are our future. Your future, my future, their parents' future. We have to cherish them, but not coddle them. They need to be little boys and little girls.
That's right.
And they do need to play in the dirt and play with each other. And anything that stands in that way should be eliminated.
When I went to England, I grew up there for a short while. I was in George Salter's Academy in West Bromwich, and there's a uniform to wear. Boys and girls, they all wore ties. You had to learn how to do a Windsor knot and all of that. But I think the new public school system might be the privates to go to, the private schools, because that may be the last bastion for keeping our little gentlemen and our little ladies what they are. And I think we're gonna start thinking twice about public school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Either religious school or charter school. But once we eliminate the U.S. Department of Education and the teachers' unions, we might have a return to sanity.
Yeah, because that's the one thing they can't stop you from doing out there. Yeah, we're hearing about these bills being passed on what they're saying that they can teach are kindergarten aged children,
Yeah.
but
well,
you can still pull them out of public school. That's where their power is. Their power is not in private schools. They're in the public.
the problem is the money, and the states need to give the parents the vouchers so they can afford to
Yeah.
send their children to the schools they choose.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was a simple answer where, yeah, we're going back to parental, slips, parental slips you had to sign. To me, I grew up in that kind of, as a child in that, and it made sense to me as a child. My parents make all the decisions for me until I'm 18. And then after that, it's all right,
And that's the other thing the left is doing, destroying the family unit.
Yeah.
And so we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to values. We need to get back to God. That's what this country was founded on. And maybe we can get America back.
Let me take Barbara. Can I tell you that you talk about the family? Because you bring these things up on my show. On my show, I had the young lifeguard. We were talking because we had our last lifeguard show. We talked about, people. We have a standard. It's for the USLA. USLA is a national certifying entity for all lifeguards in the ocean and in pool and in lakes. There's a test. It has to be. You have to swim 500 yards, which is 20 laps in a pool with under 10 minutes. Okay. Or you can't become a lifeguard. There's chatter now to basically lower the standard. And why? Well, we have people out there who, can't do that, and they want to become a lifeguard. And of course, they're going to throw the same old thing. They didn't have the upbringing, they're minority, or whatever. And we're saying, well, you can't do that. So we brought up this thing, and they cascaded to the point where I said to the kid who was sitting next to me here, and he goes to me, he goes, well, I'm privileged. He goes, I'm privileged. That's what he said. He's privileged. He said he's privileged. And again, in the basis and the contents of talking about this, who should be allowed to swim or should we lower the standard? And I said, well, what do you mean you're privileged? He goes, well, I had a mother and father, and they used to go to my games and everything. And that's how I was privileged. I mean, so I said, whoa. You really believe, right? I said, so you think that you're privileged because I said, you're not privileged. You're normal. Normal. So now this is what, but Barbara, you got to talk to these young people. That's
coming from a background where
but he's a college. He just finished.
Parents who didn't give a shit.
But here's the thing, though, Jeremy. He just come out of college. This is the horse shit. I know. And instead of saying no, you got to stay with the father and the mother. Right. We have to have families. 75%, whatever. There's broken families. We need to. But this is where I'm saying we lost it. The boat is it's off the dock.
The mold's already been broken.
Just like he said to me,
everything's oozing out in the wrong direction.
Just when he says to me, "Oh, that swimmer, that's a girl," I go, "She's not a girl.
She's not a girl."
But you understand what I'm saying? But
absolutely,
it's crazy. I don't want to go into, but
no, and
that's normal. He didn't think he's privileged because he had a mother and father.
Whoa.
And they stayed together. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Sad. I know. We're going down a bad road.
I know, and it's key. The family's key. Marriage is work. It's worth it, in my humble opinion. And that's why we need to get back to basics and values, and then we can save America. And so, anyway, boy, I really got y'all going here, didn't I?
Yeah, I'm fired up today. I've been fired up. I'm sorry, bro. I think
it's great.
I tell you what. I'm very passionate. When you could yell at me, you could call me names, I got to pay more gas. But when you go after the children,
I know. Yes.
There's nothing, like you said, life. I tell these kids, friends and family, and our existence is to have children and to teach them. When you start your politics, listen, I'm a Christian. Everybody's equal in my opinion. We want everybody to have equal opportunity. But when you push this agenda for equity, equal outcome, you're staring down a barrel of Marxism.
Some things need to remain sacred, because if we don't have anything that's sacred, what the frick is all the fighting about anyway? I mean, we had a way of life, and you know what? As Americans, as patriots, we held our heads high for decades and decades
Right.
because of where we
No.
lived and the lessons we were taught when we were kids.
Well-
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, Barbie, you just said it before we end this. That the kids are being dumbed down. We're probably ranked very low now in medicine. I could attest to it. Medicine's it's going down a toilet. The education system is going down the toilet. Look at this country. There's record drug overdoses, over 100,000. And it's 30 and under. The suicide rate. Actually, the suicide rate didn't go up generally, but between 10 and 18 years old, it's like 15% increase. Think about a 9, a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid committing suicide. We're in dire straits in this country. Morally, we are corrupt. We have to, or corrupted. We have to do something. And to me, we need to go back to the spirituality. That's one of the most important things. And this today, like I said, with Passover and tomorrow, Christ.
But
we
Mike,
need
that
to.
was the one thing they took out of school.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. They took that out,
Yes.
and they didn't even ask us then.
They didn't want no Christmas, no.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So now but here's my point. When do the people in this country, the people who are conservative and also the middle ground, the liberals, where we say, listen, the boat is sinking. It's like being on a Titanic and you come up to me and go, we'll be okay. I'm like, listen, I built this boat. It's going down.
That's the thing, though. We gave up when they were taking religion out of the school. Okay, we gave up. We let in. All right, go on then.
Of course, the right is not violent.
And now they think they can just take over completely. So it starts that you give them an inch, they take a foot, and pretty soon you don't have a leg to stand on.
Well, they took a mile now.
And that's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I do want to wish everybody happy Easter, happy Passover. Enjoy God, enjoy America, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the rebirth of the earth, and
enjoy each other.
Yeah. And so this is Dr. Barbara Schneider on Radio Free America with Dr. Kachmar and Jeremy signing off for the week. Hope to see you next week. Hope to hear you next week. God bless you all. So goodbye, Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, and America. God bless.